Too bad it's so dark. Why did we go up in the balloon when it's dark? Father? We're here. Throw the anchor in. There you go, boy. Today on the Comic Book Report, Locke Key, Heaven and Earth. Stick around and check it out. Greetings from Lovecraft, everybody. My name is Dominic, and you are watching the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today we're going to go ahead and jump right back into the world of Locke Key. But first, here are a couple quick facts about today's collection. Locke Key, Heaven and Earth was written by Joe Hill and penciled by Gabriel Rodriguez. This collection was first published by IDW in 2017 and collects standalone stories Open the Moon, Grindhouse, and In the Can. This entire hardcover collection comes in at 72 pages. At this time, I'd like to issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the contents of today's volume as well as discussing some of the plot points contained. I would also like to echo what is seen on the back of the collection, which is that this is intended for mature readers. From my reading, there is definitely violence, some blood, vulgar language, and some sexual situations. You've been warned. Okay, and here's a look at the collection itself. These are beautifully bound, standard size hardcovers with glossy pages. And right from the jump, I'll just say it, this whole thing is only 72 pages and contains 3 very short stories contained within the Locke Key universe, as well as a few extras. And while many people may doubt the value of this collection, I would say if you could find it for a good deal, it might be worth picking up if you're a big fan of Locke Key. But let's go ahead and jump inside and you can decide for yourself. I'd also just like to say I believe the contents of this edition are being re-released in a bigger collection coming out, so maybe look into that if this is not quite to your taste. Okay, and here's the collection itself. As I mentioned, it has those 3 short stories. There's a table of contents, which I always love to see. And the first story they do is one called Open the Moon. And for my money, this is really the best story in this collection. We're treated to the beautiful pencils of Gabriel Rodriguez, returning from the work on the main series. And in my opinion, this is some of his best work yet. I love the era that he depicts here, kind of the turn of the century history of the Locke family. The family here is the same one that was seen, I believe, in the Locke Key Small World collection, for those that have read that. And the basic premise is that the Locke family patriarch at the time has one child who is ill with some kind of serious disease that they don't believe can be cured and is really detrimental to his overall quality of life. And this boy has so many big dreams, but we are led to believe that he is absolutely dying. So the father commissions the making of a new key, which he then uses to unlock the moon as he rises to the top there with his boy and friend. Inside the moon, the boy can see all these wondrous adventures throughout time and location, and effectively get to live out some of those dreams. All the while, behind the moon itself, there's all these dearly departed family members who can also take care of him. In the end, the father leaves them behind the moon, and he goes back to Earth in the blimp, devastated, as it is insinuated that basically the boy has passed on, or this is where he goes as a kind of afterlife, since living caused him such great pain and restricted him from living these big dreams. It's a really moving story that's so fantastical and just beautiful to watch, and it's really the heart of this collection. Really well done. It was only a few pages, but I was so affected by the father-son story here. I think it's worth reading. I cannot commend it enough. Next in this collection is Grindhouse, and this is definitely the most disturbing I found. Basically, it has a Locke family who is victimized by a bunch of, I guess, bank robbers. These guys are crude and violent and frankly rapists, and they come to the Locke house to go ahead and steal from the Locke family. The matriarchs kind of roll with it, try to maintain calm so they don't alarm the children as to what's going on with these violent criminals. The mom and the sister within the family have a set of magic keys that do different things, which they take with them as these two men try to have their way with them. One key essentially eats one of the bad guys, the other key gender bends the woman and the man bank robber, and then he just beats the tar out of them and leaves them as a woman who feels totally freaked out and scarred. This was a dark story and honestly not one of my favorites, and with that we can go ahead and move along. This final story in the can basically takes the three main Locke children from the main series as they're wandering around the property. As they're out and about, Bodhi finds a magical key that unlocks the outhouse, which brings weird travelers from other places into this outhouse. I really think this story is more about gag cameos than any real storytelling. Overall, the art was great, of course, and it was so wonderful to see some of my familiar favorite characters, but beyond that, this kind of just took up space. There was nothing here really for me, personally. And that rounds out really the 3 short stories that are found in this collection. The remainder of this book includes some special features, my favorite of which is this section of photographs where the creators went to the areas of Massachusetts that inspired the creation of Lovecraft. They have some photos of them touring the area, the cave system that inspired the main cave found in the Locke Key story. These pictures are a lot of fun. We get to see the creators being kind of goofy, but we also get a really great visual representation of what they were trying to capture in the work, which I think that Gabriel Rodriguez did expertly, but it's so cool to see that they got to go to this place after the fact, and just to see them in these places. Well, safe to say this was a special feature I didn't expect, but wholly enjoyed. After those photos, we're treated to a bunch of other bonus artwork, pictures, what looks like maybe variant covers, things like that. Like I said, just some beautiful artwork here on the back end, and it just rounds out the collection for me. They didn't have to include these, but I think that missing out on these would have made this collection feel even smaller, which was definitely a detriment to this collection in general. But I love to see this. These were great bonus features, and I was pretty happy. So let's go ahead and give this collection a grade. For this well-constructed hardcover collection with beautiful artwork throughout, The Comic Book Report is going to give this anthology horror collection, Locke Key, Heaven and Earth, a C. I put this collection right about average. I think those that aren't fans of the franchise like I am would probably rate this even lower. Frankly, I really enjoyed seeing some familiar characters. I loved looking at the art. But I feel like I only really connected with one of the 3 stories, and one was maybe a little too vulgar for my taste personally. When I think about it in a collection that is this short, that is really detrimental overall for me. I think, like I said, it's a very well-constructed hardcover collection. The page quality is a beautiful gloss that I love, and the extras really help buoy this collection up. I loved seeing the photos from the trip these creators went on along with some of the bonus artwork, but it wasn't enough to make this a high recommend for me. I do think if they roll some of these stories and shorter collections into a bigger hardcover or bigger collection down the road, people that might want to skip this may find that more beneficial. It was fun to dip my toe back into the Locke Key universe, but I wish it was a little bit more than this. Have you read Locke Key, Heaven and Earth? If so, I'd love to hear about it in the comments below. And that's going to do it for today on the Comic Book Report. If you haven't yet, please consider subscribing to my channel, and have a good one.